How do you rise up in a downturn? Is a downturn going to happen? Listen, I'm not a financial professional. I don't work for the federal government, and the true answer to this is beyond my pay grade. Yet I've been asked this question hundreds of times by students and colleagues over the last few weeks. And so if I were to hazard to guess, I'd say a downturn is inevitable. It might not hit today or tomorrow, but on a long enough timeline, it's something you can avoid. And after I've gone through my own personal 7 stages of grief for the roaring 20 teens, I'm starting to feel pretty good about the next decade. It's time to rise up, even if we're headed for a downturn. And this video is an elaboration on a response I provided Clarence in my private Facebook group for data-driven business owners. In that group, Clarence asked, "Jeff, I would really like to know what are your views on recession, local or global? I believe you were growing in the last global financial crisis and would love to have nuggets of wisdom. I know we're not in a recession officially, but the signs are there and it might happen. How do you identify opportunity in trying times like these?" Okay, so here's how I answered. I think it's almost certain that we will be in a recession soon, potentially worse than 2008. I think for most growing businesses in this group, there's not much to lose and everything to gain by staying focused. See, my agency grew our business during the last global financial crisis by 500%. And it's not just a percentage. In hard dollars, we're talking about $6 million in annual revenue we added to the business during a really hard time. Okay, so how do we do that? By just focusing on the fundamentals that every business should follow, regardless of whether the powers that be deem it a recession. Here are 3 things I learned rising up during a downturn. Number 1, just because people are more careful with expenses doesn't mean that everybody wants cheap services, especially services that won't make them profitable in the long term or won't make you profitable in the long term either. You want to be aligned with the value equation of the current market environment. You want to find the right balance of affordable and accountable compared to your competition. You want to provide your clients or your employer with the most bang for their buck. Number 2, stick to the source of revenue. In other words, help people make money during these hard times. Usually sales is the last thing that you want to turn off during a recession, and so providing services in the marketing and advertising world is a great place to be when it comes to providing value. Now again, I don't believe that people don't want to spend money at all during a recession. They just want to spend money to make money. They want their spend to be accountable. They want value. And if you're not sure what I mean by value, rewind this video and watch point number 1 again. Number 3, focus on emerging technologies, markets, and opportunities. You can't stick with what used to work before the recession hit. Budgets will shift to emerging platforms in the future. The biggest companies of the 2010s, they were all born or cut their teeth during the global financial crisis. So once these companies made it through the tough times, they emerged as lean, mean, fighting machines. Soon, your clients will have to focus on generating and growing their revenues. And my business just happened to be there to catch them and ride the wave up as they were growing. So when you think about Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and many more platforms, they were all born in the forge of the worst financial crisis since the last financial crisis. And as a service provider, you can make a major impact by aligning yourself with the winners that will emerge from the crisis. You could have said the same for Google and Amazon during the dot-com bust. But here's the biggest takeaway I have from the lessons I learned growing the business. Nothing in your mind should change when it comes to being in business, whether it's a recession or a bull market. If you want to stay busy and in demand for the rest of your career, the word recession shouldn't be in your vocabulary. Either you provide value or you don't. So use this time to focus on providing value, to do better. What defined you in the 20 teens is not what will define you in your next decade. So get to work defining the future. You've had enough time to dwell in the past. The past is gone. The easy money, it's all dried up. It's what you do next that will define your legacy.